There of New Church Live. Great to have you joining us this morning as we continue on taking a look at Noah and the Ark and how this beautiful story unfolds in these wonderful poetic insights. And I just want to, offer just a little side. So much of this stuff I think was spiritual truth. And I mentioned this on Sunday for those who watched our Sunday message, is spiritual truth is a lot of it is what we dance with. It's real easy to kind of think of it like you go to a doctor gives you a prescription, you get prescription filled, and life is better. Doesn't quite work that way spiritually. I mean, I think with spiritual growth, it's just a lot more sort of about tending a garden versus diagnosing an illness. And we tend the garden, we weed it, we cultivate it, we plant it, we harvest, all these different things. And that's sort of much more aligned to what the spiritual life is like. So great to have you joining me today as we continue on with that dance, as they would say. And today we're looking at one I was thinking about this morning, and it was based on this small little line we looked at yesterday. So for those of you who haven't joined us before, we've been looking at the story of Noah and the Ark. Flood comes, Noah and his family, all the animals in the Ark, they travel, and the Ark saves them. There's a lot of stuff around that. And this flood is, think of it like the floods in our life and how we kind of navigate those things, or don't navigate them, God navigates them. And then we come to a time where the Ark settles and comes to rest. And that's what we've been looking at for the past few weeks. And it's interesting that the section we're looking at today is this little bit on the same line we looked at yesterday, which is when Noah realizes that everything really is at rest. So he takes the roof off the building, and he says he looks out. And it's really, it was fun kind of thinking about that today. And it's just a thought, to share with you folks today. And it's a thought about what that might mean, what you might be able to hold that as and sort of see it as, and it may offer some insights into our lives. And here's the insight, I'd love the chance to share with you, which is the idea, right? Floods come, we come to a rest. We looked at last week, and we start to try to send out good things into the world. Our views start to change, our perspective starts to broaden, and then we get this insight, and the insight is often an upsight. An insight is often looking up. And I want to talk about what that could mean. When we're coming to a time, after a time of flood, and we come into a time of newness, one of the harder things to grasp, and this may be for me personally, though I imagine some of you wrestle with the same thing. I think of newness, and I so want these hard parts of the past to just disappear, like that they didn't happen, nothing to see there, we're on to something new. And draw a really, really firm, hard, not even opaque line or wall between the past and the future. I don't know whether that serves people terribly well to do that, or serves me terribly well to do that, or serves us terribly well to do that. And I humbly put this out there that maybe there's a way in which this is pointing us towards a different way of having a higher perspective of things. Like, floods happen, they're going to happen. Some we are part of, in terms of causality. Some we are not. Some just happen in our lives. Some are a mix of both of those two. And when we hit these storms, that breathing part of like, okay, so now I have to just work at being able to look up. And what does that mean? Well, this is the really big point. I just ask us just to throw around a little bit and to think about. I think when we come to a higher perspective on the floods in our lives, what happens is this. Instead of seeing like the floods in our lives, instead of seeing those floods as like something that is in the past to be shunned, to be put aside, to where we've moved on, instead what we do is we start to actually include that into our lives and into our life experience. I love the phrase transcend and include, which means that we go through these phases of life, we go through these challenges, and we want to transcend them. In other words, we don't want to get mired down in them, and we certainly don't want them to just keep on pulling us further and further under the water. Though that can at times happen, and sometimes I don't know whether we necessarily even choose that, and that's where we need professional help to help us get ourselves back to an even keel. But for many of us, I think the place where we might have some agency, might have some ability to make some change, is to look forward, and it's an insight that's an upsight. It's being able to look out there into the world and to be able to go, okay, that past really did happen. It really was there. There really was that fill in the blank. There really was that accident, or there really was that diagnosis, or there really was that loss of relationship. It's really there, and I'm not going to pretend that it wasn't. And then what we can do once we do that, then we can start to transcend it. And but it's still included in our life experience. It's not something that we sort of jettison. Yeah, we don't jettison it. It's just that simple. It's integrated now. It's woven into our life. And why would we want to weave that stuff into our lives? And this is really mean from the bottom of my heart. Weave it into your life because it's going to make you a better person. There you go. Weave it into your life because it's going to make you a better person. I think that's why people who've really done a good job integrating it, and I imagine we all know some of them who have done that, they have this deep compassion about them. They have this 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 deep groundedness, this richness to their lives, because it's not like they're pretending nothing happened here. They're really clear something happened, and they're really clear that it's hard, and they're really clear that it was devastating. And yet there's also this transcendent quality, and the transcendent quality is this is really hard to put into words. The transcendent quality is not a quality of leaving the past behind. The transcendent quality is where that past is now integrated into a reimagined future. Again, I want to say that again, to where that past is integrated into a reimagined future. That is not easy to do. I think that's where we need other people to do that, frankly, to reflect back to us, to be mirrors for us, to help us to do that, to lovingly mirror those things for us as we start to move forward in our lives, because that's where richness really comes. It comes from those challenges, not just that we overcome, which is important, but that we learn to move forward with. So I hope that makes sense, folks. I hope that makes sense in terms of how maybe in your life and all our lives we can have a reimagined newness around things. And yeah, and just again, keep on coming back to transcend and include. Transcend and include. So that's the thought for today, friends. And what we're going to do now is now we're going to shift gears. For those of you joining us for the first time, this is where we do a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing, and then we say hi to folks on Facebook. And what we're going to do is we ring a little prayer bell. You just listen to that, go the whole way through, and that's just designed to like still our minds, just allow us to relax. And then when that's done, we'll launch into our little meditation. So first off, friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's take a little cheery hello to folks here. Again, I hope you're all doing well on this rather chilly, at least for out here in southeastern Pennsylvania, rather chilly day. All right, let's see what comments we got here. Sorry about that echo there. All right. Gene writes, good morning. Happy to be here on time. Well, Gene, whether you join us live or archived, it's always beautiful to have you as part of our little morning gathering. Betty writes, I love that. The past is integrated into a reimagined future. Thank you, Chuck. Have a great day. And that really is it. It's like, and it's, boy, Betty, it just seems to me that's so much the way to do it. Just how do we work at integrating? And the word integrate, integrity is actually the Latin. This is so good. Geeky word stuff is so fascinating to me. The word integrity, integration means to be woven together, and it's where it gets woven together. Probably some of you know the famous, I think it's the Hopi tribe. There was one famous Indian tribe who, with their blankets, would always put one thread that was imperfect in it, because it's the idea that life always has that imperfect thread, which I always loved. Marcus writes, good morning, and good morning to you, buddy. Mary writes, integration and weaving create the freedom and peace. Only suffering comes from the burying. Our heads tell us we can forget, but down to ourselves call us to integrate. If we don't, it's a life of running from, and that creates all sorts of attachments. Yeah, isn't that interesting, Mary? Yeah, and I love using that word attachments there, right? Because when we do that, it does sort of warp an attachment to something. I don't know. It's like it's hard to put that into words, but as I'm reading that, it strikes me as deeply true. We can get attached to, I don't want to say lying about the past, but we can get attached to sort of a sanitized version of the past and of our lives that really isn't going to help us grow. And it's not just doesn't help us, like it doesn't help other people. Like, again, the people I know who are the most helpful, at least in my experience as a pastor, the people who are the most helpful in other people's lives are people who are really clear that they struggle every bit as much as anyone else. So that's really well said, Mary. Let me just flip pages here real quickly. Let's see, grab some other comments here. All right, a little bit more on this page. Let's take a look at this. All right, Linda, good morning to you, and I hope you're doing well. Marianne, my friend, I hope you're doing well and life's going good. Melissa writes, good morning. Learn from past experiences to grow as a better individual. And that's so true. And it's just, it's kind of a silly example, Melissa, but I think about it like athletically, like any team that pretends they didn't lose and refuses to learn from that is not going to be a team that gets better. Marianne Wright, it takes a village for all of us to get through our lives. Many, which I like that. That's well said. Sherry writes, good morning and enjoy your day. And I see a little rain there, Sherry. We actually had a little snow here this morning, which I liked. Kim writes, good morning. And then Marianne continues on. She, many times we go down certain roads alone, but it's so much better to travel down those roads when we know there are loved ones who have our back. And of course, always travel with God. And it's true. It's fascinating how we cannot do this alone. It just is. It's just really hard because this sounds silly, right, Miriam? But we only know what we know. And that the way really, really talented people can, and there are many of them in the world, can help us just shift our perspective slightly without being big advice givers, which is kind of interesting to watch when people can do that. All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning. It is wonderful to have you here, and we will see you again tomorrow. God bless. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.